All right, come join us. It's time to get our afternoon set of sessions going here in the RISC-V Pavilion. For everyone off running around, grab your coffee, grab your friends, come join us. So I'm Calista Redmond, CEO of RISC-V International, and I'm super excited to share with you a little bit of the progress that we're seeing in our community across industries and importantly around the world. So thanks so much for showing up. Let me just start with a quick note on global standards. You know, standards have underpinned so many of the amazing things, so many amazing innovations that we have around the world. You think about things like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and the innovation that these have ushered in that is so critical as each of us plays a part. Each of us is a stakeholder in that overall technical economy. That we want what we build, what our innovations are, to truly interoperate with one another. RISC-V is a standard. It's a standard instruction set architecture. That means that we care about the interconnect between the software indicating what that hardware needs to do. And when it does that effectively, it doesn't matter what the software is or what the underlying hardware is. It's that interconnect. It's that global standard that we are all very grateful for, because think of it this way. The innovation that RISC-V has unleashed, we now have more design houses on RISC-V than any other architecture in history. If you look at the number of architectures in history, there are about 50. I know that's surprising because you look at the landscape today and there really are two, fairly dominant ones, ARM and Intel. And now RISC-V. RISC-V is the only global standard. It is not proprietary. It does not require license fees. It does not bring in royalties. It is free and available for folks to use and have the design freedom that is important to pushing that leading edge of innovation. So we are the definition of open computing. When you think about the rapid success that we're seeing in our ecosystem today, this is a testament to the number of stakeholders that we're engaging. So RISC-V is truly inevitable because of the collective investment of so many around the world. This has to do with universities and research institutes, governments and public institutions that are investing in this for their local economies. This has to do with commercial providers, both new startups who are garnering mass amounts of venture capital funding and other institutional investment, or the types of investments that you're seeing come into multinationals. Multinationals who are looking for design freedom and flexibility that enables them to add AI, to add acceleration to some of their existing product portfolios. This is a huge advancement in unleashing the potential of RISC-V. This also is a different way of designing processors. So by starting with a base set of instructions, adding only the extensions that you wish to use, you can achieve new variables for performance, for power, for the specific workloads that you're trying to cater to. This means that custom processing is far more widely available, and those barriers to entry have come down. This would be nowhere without our ecosystem. So software is an absolute essential means to an end. And the level of software integration and optimization and porting and tooling that we have advancing in RISC-V today is accelerating every day. We have more tools and resources available within our community and with our partner organizations around the world, such as RISE, with software optimization kits, with several of our vendors here in the booth that are offering new advancements around accelerating that software journey, as well as that design journey. So what have we accomplished? We've accomplished a lot. And in just the last 2 years, we've ratified more than 40 technical specifications that includes 123 ratified extensions. So this means that you truly take that modular approach. Small base ISA, pick and choose the extensions that are right for your workload, rather than traditional architecture models where you get an incrementally built ISA, 1,500 extensions or instructions or more, and that is what your base building block is. Start with something simple and design for your specific workload. This couldn't be possible without the collaboration of our community. Collaboration is key. Each of us bringing the best thought leadership to much of the work that you see going to ratification. This all then proceeds through a strict governance process with horizontal and vertical committee structure so that we work in harmony with one another across these groups. We're continuing to grow very rapidly. We have more than 4,300 RISC-V members. I was just looking at the chart to see if it was updated because we just got the March numbers in. We're now more than 4,300 members, 70 different countries. And for the last 5 years, I've been telling you, and I'll tell you again, we're evenly distributed around the world. A third in North America, a third in Europe, and a third in APAC. This shows you that this is not just a Europe agenda, this is not just a US agenda or an Asian agenda. This is a global imperative. It's very similar to what we saw in open source software. We are seeing in open hardware, and RISC-V as a standard is the right way to go. So you see this rapid growth. We were up nearly 30% last year alone. This is going to market. You know, many technical projects are interesting, but they're not meaningful unless you start to see the commercial advancements that go along with that. And the forecasts for this are very strong. You see here more than 40% growth and going to 16 billion SoCs by 2030. Now I know we all walked past that big ARM sign on our way into the conference that talked about how many SoCs they've been shipping. We're not there yet, but we are accelerating rapidly. In fact, there has not been a faster growing architecture in history, as you see with RISC-V. And that's because we're in embedded, we're in mobile, we're in automotive, we're in data center, we're in HPC, we're in hyperscale. We're following all of those threads at the same time. So while our numbers might not be the same as what you saw in those massive banners on the outside of the conference hall today, we are rapidly accelerating our growth with our community. So this is our number of SoCs that are calculated. And we'll get to, well, how does that translate to the money in a minute? But first, what fields are those in? We're seeing that AI is capitalizing across multiple different industries, and you see here that 20 to 30% of all of these major markets are set to tip over into RISC-V in the coming years. This is huge. Now remember, just about 4 years ago, back in 2020, people had barely heard of RISC-V. We were still out on road shows educating people on what is RISC-V in the first place. And now today we're saying we've arrived. Not only have we arrived, but we have this invested, dedicated community who are continuing to push that leading edge and bringing products to market. So this is a very exciting time for us. And that money is real. 47% CAGR, estimated to be billions of dollars, 92.7 billion by 2030. This is a massive market, and as you can see on the bottom, it's spanning industrial, automotive, networking, compute, consumer, and other workloads. So we truly are seeing all of this progress across the compute spectrum. And so that's a very important takeaway. Do something because it's cool, but do something for the test of time because it's going to build your business. So we're showing a lot of continued growth in IoT as well. And you see, just an example of where we were in 2018, 2019, 2020, RISC-V not even on the map, right? And as you start to see the growth in that particular industry, as those new workloads are coming online, that's where that architecture decision is being made for RISC-V. So you see kind of what the future holds and where that lies for IoT. This is a rapidly growing domain, and it's anyone's game, and folks are turning to RISC-V for their strategy. So let's talk a little bit about what some of those processors are. So you can see here that we've seen a lot of activity from many of the folks in our community. Codasip and Semidynamic, startups like Sci5 and Ventana, companies around the world, even Renesas and Synopsys have been engaging deeply in new RISC-V processors. You see many of these types of announcements going on at shows like Embedded World. You see new boards coming out and new things for both the developer community as well as for production. The application space is very important to us. So you see deep investments and dedication from Qualcomm, Scipio, Scalway, Cantaris. Cantaris is a very interesting example here in Europe as a consortium that is dedicated to looking at automotive in particular, with deep investment from folks like Qualcomm and others. So have a look at that. Andes is here in the booth, and they have been dedicated to RISC-V for several years now and have seen great progress across a huge breadth of applications. Yeah. Every time I open up another email from Andes, it's another domain that they've moved into. So really great progress, and you can see that as a testament to the investment as well as the dedication of strategic merit. For the development community, bringing Android to RISC-V has unleashed huge potential. This has been a signal not only to the developer community in porting their applications to RISC-V, but to the mobile providers as well. So as you see hardware coming online, that software is ushering in very quickly. By the way, this is a huge signal to our software application community that if you have not already started planning your journey onto RISC-V, not only are there more tools and resources to accelerate that journey today, but you're going to be left behind if you don't initiate that journey soon. So let's look at some of these industries in particular. In automotive, nearly 30% of automotive will be RISC-V by 2030. If you're engaged in automotive, it's not when, what if RISC-V, it's when. And that when is already here. So think about that across the many domains and areas just within automotive. And this is something that you'll see is paramount as you look at safety and security and all the other elements that wrap into that. In data center and cloud, we've heard from some of our stakeholders like Meta and Google and others who have deep investments in RISC-V and some of the work and some of the challenges that they see and things that we as a community are tackling together. But look not just at primary application workloads, but also at some of the related things around accelerating a workload or bringing AI onto that existing workload. That's where many of the initial footprints in data center are today. Looking more at telecom and consumer devices, 5G has ushered in a completely new era, not just for embedded and others involved here, but in particular for RISC-V. So this, ranges from the infrastructure behind mobile to the handset itself, and bringing all the applications and related functionality within a handset as well. So it's interesting. The application processor is only one piece of that phone. Of the dozens of chips within each of your phones, many of those are tipping to RISC-V already. We already talked a little bit about the Internet of Things, but think of this also as thinking about where does RISC-V fit in the security side of that story, as streamlining the various attributes that you need within that SoC and enabling that custom processing at a very low power threshold. So some of those low power aspects are things that are easily designed with RISC-V because of the number of variables that you can fine tune in your design that you simply cannot do with another architecture. HPC. HPC is one of the domains that you really truly have a full chip through software stack that is completely open. And that has been great in a lot of our research in academia. You also have the potential, because of reserved encoding space, to add in your custom extensions and proprietary mechanisms to achieve that differentiation that you're looking for. We have already seen the first RISC-V clusters in competition. They may not have won the golden trophy out the gate, but it is compelling and amazing to see how rapidly RISC-V has made it from embedded to HPC. I mentioned ecosystem, and this is our landscape. The RISC-V ecosystem is something that spans from hardware and tool providers, and these logos are going to get smaller and smaller on this chart as we try and get more in. But there is a dynamic version of this online that you can go in and have a look. Think about all of the different operating systems and other resources and things that have been, here's the operating systems row here, all the different aspects and all the different stakeholders in our ecosystem that need to come together. And by the way, if your logo needs to be on this map, let us know. We'll be sure to bring it on. So think about how fast you've seen our ecosystem accelerating and what your role is in that community. Think about how are you participating? How are you showing up? If you're not already a member of RISC-V, it's important to think about that, because engaging shoulder to shoulder with the engineers and the top minds of this industry who are driving this complete revolution forward is the best way to accelerate your own development within your own companies or the work that you're doing in research or academia. Accelerating your personal path, accelerating the path of your company is done in collaboration. You bring that learning and that insight back into your company, and that allows you to innovate faster. That has business value. It's not just to do something better, faster, more performant, lower power, but it also helps you win in the market. And that's really where research starts to transition into commercialization. And that's what we're seeing in RISC-V. So for all of these stakeholders, they said, now is the time. Now is the time to pour my investment, my resource into RISC-V, and they've started to realize the potential of that. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today, and hopefully I'll see you in the community, and I invite you to engage there as well. Thank you.